President Obama recently visited the nation of Laos in Southeast Asia, acknowledging the deadly legacy of what has become known as the CIA's secret war. Next, we'll show you how that long-ago conflict connects to Minnesota and to a new memorial at the Capitol. On a sultry June morning in 2016, marking the more than 4 decades that have passed since the first Hmong refugees arrived in the United States, a memorial to commemorate the U.S. and Alliance Special Forces in Laos was installed on the Minnesota State Capitol grounds. The monument depicts the contributions, sacrifices, and experiences of the Hmong, Lao, and American soldiers, as well as the nurses, advisors, and volunteers who served and fought for freedom in Southeast Asia from 1961 to 1975. The memorial itself is a 10-foot tall bronze depiction of a bamboo sprout.
We came up with the concept of using a bamboo sprout to symbolize the vigorous renewal that the Hmong culture has experienced here in Minnesota, because bamboo was a plant that they used to survive on in the jungles when food sources had all disappeared, and it was their shelter and many other functions for them. So it's an important plant to them, and it also has those qualities of being a vigorous resprouter. If somebody hacks it down, it can come back to life. And that's essentially what happened to them in Laos, is they were almost exterminated, or they were being tried to exterminate them. So they have come back strong and vigorous, full of courage, and that's what we wanted to portray.
The inspiration behind the bas-relief depictions on the statue was the story cloths created by the Hmong women in Thai refugee camps. Known for their fine embroidery skills, Hmong women created tapestries portraying events and stories from Hmong history and culture to earn money. Some of these tapestries depict, in great detail, the refugees' harrowing war experiences.
My first memory in life was the gush wind hitting my face with blowing sand, to my face. And it's not a natural wind, but it's the sand it's a wind that gather all the sand blowing at you, caused by the helicopter or caused by plane taking off from the clandestine airfield of Long Chang. Long Chang is the name of that airfield, or landing, or when they're taking people back in the body bags, or when they lift off. So that was my first memory of being at the airfield and sandy wind just blowing in my face.
In the early 1960s, fearing the spread of communism, the CIA began a secret war in the officially neutral Kingdom of Laos, recruiting approximately 46,000 Hmong and Lao men and boys who became known as the SGU, or Special Guerrilla Unit, to help fight the North Vietnamese. By the end of the war, as many as 35,000 Hmong soldiers were killed or missing in action, and more than 120,000 displaced Hmong people began to flee. Senator He describes his own family's escape.
It's always that they will greet each other loudly and so happy and cuddle each other. But that time, the conversation become whisper. They're all happy, but they're all happy because they're together, but all the conversation are whisper, like that. And I said, that's kind of strange, As a kid, 10 years old, that's kind of strange. Finally, this time, all the adults are whispering to each other. And then I saw my dad handing money to all my relatives. I didn't know what that meant, but meaning that we're not going to see each other. So here, trying to make your way across. My father, probably the highest earner, being that he's a military man, so he, divide his money to his relative and trying to make your way across,
The escapes from almost certain genocide from Laos to Thailand were fraught with danger, including the life-threatening crossing of the Mekong River, illustrated in many Hmong story cloths.
So immediately after the war, the communists won, and they were capturing everybody they could, and they would kill men, kill babies, and capture Americans who were still left there also and take people into these prison of war camps, and they called them re-education centers. And there they would have to grow vegetables to, facilitate the communists. And some of the tortures involved being tied to poles, being buried up to your neck in sand, being carried into these underground pits where there would be bamboo roof over your head, but you'd be in isolation under the ground.
These are just some of the many stories represented on the 16 panels of the memorial. The 4 tiers on the memorial tell a multitude of stories, each from a different point of view.
When I start looking at the bottom, I see the politics, but then as time goes by, I see the disaster and then the sorrow. Then a couple layers up, I see the hope, the prosperity, the welcomeness of Minnesotan. And I do get a little giggling, it's a little humorous as I go up, as they put a few character, quirky looking Minnesotan with thick coat, and some with mitten, and some with Lutheran pastor look, welcoming, the Hmong as they land at the Minneapolis International Airport. So, and then there's even a snowman next to a church, and that's, that is kind of truly how, it's a small picture, and we can't stereotype that is Minnesota, but in itself, it does show Minnesota. It shows kind of some way the land of the Green Giant, or the Pillsbury Doughboy, or the Ham Spear. When I see the snowman next to the church, so I get that, humorous perspective from that, just that small image, yeah.
The images are powerful and transcend language barriers. For those whose lives were lost and those whose lives were affected by the United States' secret war in Laos, their children, their grandchildren, and all of us have a special place on the St. Paul Capitol grounds in which to learn, reflect, and remember.